Hey Pisces, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to reading. These are general readings, so we take what works, we leave what doesn't. As with everything in life, if I don't catch your wavelength or storyline here, go check your other major placements. We're starting off with the Oracle deck of Moonology. It's a mixed deck of Moonology and Urban Crow, and then we're going to move on to the Muse Tarot for a more traditional tarot spread. All right. That I have to be a little more clear, a little more precise. A little deck here for me, please. Hold on. All right, got a little sassy with that deck, and it just threw everything on the floor. So, all right. So, what did we get? And then I had to recollect it all. Okay, the answers you need are coming. Full moon in Gemini. Something that you don't see, you will see. Something you don't understand now, you will understand, Pisces. So it's probably going to be a conversation because we're talking about an air sign conversation and communication. And there's a fullness here. There's an illumination of something. And it will either be through a conversation, maybe an indiscretion, someone doesn't blurt something that they don't mean to say, something they were trying to keep private but they forget to, or there is like a conversation where something is revealed. There's some kind of communication. It doesn't even have to be a conversation, could be an email, could be texts, could be multiple ways to communicate, but the answers you need are coming. I like this card because it's a little bit passive. It's a little bit like, just wait, more will be revealed, right? As we go. And then we also have perspective. So changing your perspective. I like this because it's a lot about fiddling around. Like, what are the different ways we could view this? What are the different ways we could see something? And kind of, this is a funny reading so far. Lots of funny little glitches with my voice and with the cards. Very funny. So changing your perspective here, looking at something from a different angle, changing, yeah, just looking at all the different ways you could change something or look at something in a different way, looking at it from someone else's perspective, looking at it from your opponent's perspective, looking at it from, I mean, and you don't even have to like be like, oh, well, that means they're right and I'm wrong. It can just be like, what are they seeing? And this can give you some insight, like into how to better deal with an issue or a situation. And to try to see what someone else is seeing or seeing things from different perspectives. There's a maturation process here that happens. There's being able to see things from multiple perspectives, and you don't have to agree with all those perspectives. You can still see them wrong. You can still see them wrong. You can still see them as someone else's perspective, but at least now you understand a little bit more about where they're coming from, right? You can look at, anytime we want to look at an object, we want to look at it. You can look at it from all different angles. So spend some time rolling some idea or some thought in your mind, and if there is some communication, maybe this is about trying to see it from the other perspective. They don't have to be right and you be wrong. It's just a different way of looking at it. You can be very non-judgmental about it and just seeing it from some other perspective. So if someone does communicate something to you, you can work on playing with perspectives, just rolling an idea around in your mind as you would an object to see it from all different angles. It's actually, this rock is one of my favorites, and it looks like, the light through an ocean wave, which is one of my favorite things on earth. So yeah, anyway, look at it from all different perspectives, roll that idea around in your mind. And then you got these two cards, which I found very interesting because someone else got these cards this week, but I'm not even going to try to guess who. But Night and Fear. So at first blush, these cards can look a little scary. We've got darkness, we've got fog, we've got almost this like mournful stance here, but they're sleeping. They're not mourning, it's sleeping. So, and then fear, right? Something you're afraid of. So night and fear, fearing the dark, fearing what you don't know, being afraid of, being afraid of what you don't know. But the answers you need are coming. Something will be revealed, and you might be afraid of it. You might be afraid of all that you don't know. But I want to also talk about how these cards aren't scary once you start really looking at them. Just like fear, once you start really talking about it, really looking at it, sometimes it can just dissipate like a vampire, right? It sucks your energy, but once you bring it into the light of day, bring it into the openness, talk about it openly, or think about it, allow yourself to think about it openly, something that maybe has been nagging at you in the back of your mind and causing a constant fear, but you bring it out into the open, and it turns to dust, much like a vampire. Fear is kind of a vampire, isn't it? It sucks your energy. It's kind of contagious. People can make you feel fear or try to make you feel fear. It's not going to make you live forever, though, that's for sure. But once it gets out into the light of day, right, we have night here, and as long as it stays in the dark, it has power. But once you bring it out to the light of day and really look at it, it has a vanishing capacity or it turns to dust. It's nothing. So night, though, can also be a rest time, a dream time, a time to rejuvenate, get a good night's sleep. That's something that's one of that's a very successful thing to do. If you've gotten a good night's sleep, you're very successful so far today. So it's something that's quested after. Actually, people long for that deep rest, that good night of sleep, that allowing things to rest and allowing things to not be seen, allowing something to be in the dark for a while. Maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay that you don't have all the answers right now. And maybe it can allow you, if you can rest in that situation, it could possibly be very rejuvenating to not have all the answers, to not have that bright light of clarity beaming down on things. So it's possible that you could take advantage of this. Maybe this is a shift in perspective. Maybe part of the shift in perspective is that maybe not knowing is restful, and it allows you to rest. And you can't see everything, and that's normal. That's a normal part of life. That's a normal part of a day, of a life, of a 24-hour period, is having this dark period, having times in our lives where we can't see. And it's incredibly normal. It's part of the rhythm of life, and it's part of what allows life to happen. It's integral to it. These moments of darkness, of not seeing, of rest, of inactivity. It's absolutely integral to growth. Oh man, that's one of my favorite facts is children grow when they're sleeping, and only when they're sleeping. That's why sometimes when you have like a preteen, they come downstairs and they look like, oh my gosh, you're like 2 inches taller. They probably aren't 2 inches taller than when they went to bed, but they might actually be a little taller. So growth happens during our sleep, and I think that that's an important metaphor to keep in mind. So this nighttime can actually be a time of growth, be a time of subconscious growth and healing. And then we have fear. Here's a scarecrow. It's meant to scare specifically this being. It was meant to scare that being, right? But this being dealt with its fear and overcame it, right? The fear allowed it to exhibit courage. So right, because we can't have courage if we're not afraid. It's just like foolhardiness and stupidity. Unless you're afraid and then you do it anyway, then that's courage. Now we're talking courage. Now we're talking something that the epics have been written about, and something worthy of a hero's journey here. But in order to be worthy of the hero's journey, first there must be some fear. Or not must, but probably. It'll come up for everyone. But this crow, how did this crow conquer this fear that was very specific to it? Bit by bit, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I imagine the crow hopping towards the scarecrow, and then a wind blows, and then, no, not yet. And then a little bit forward, more, and then not yet. And then soon, it's sitting on the hat. And all these other crows are like, how did you do that? How did you do that? So conquering fear. Oh, what? Oh, that's funny. We also have sitting on top of the deck, just for my edification here, a win-win outcome is forecast. So I like that. Full moon in Libra. All right. We're going to do a traditional cut. If you were sitting across the table from me, you would be cutting the deck right now. Pisces, this is your past, your present, your inner landscape. What's at issue? Your environment, your to-do list, your possible outcome. Wow. We have 4 different emotions cards here. 4 of them. And then the other thing we have is the wheel in the world cosmos, which has a lot of passivity to it, allowing things to unfold as they will. The things outside, both of those cards, I've never seen both of them show up in a reading together. So we have a strong reiteration and a smaller aspect and a larger aspect of things completing themselves, things outside of your control. So, and then you have a lot of feelings about all these things outside of your control. In your recent, in your past, your recent past, you have 10 of Cups. You accomplished something. I see this as like a dance troupe on a stage. You may have accomplished something in a community, in a group of people. Very satisfying, very exciting, right? We've got sort of the stage curtains and that sort of that energy that's generated by a group of people and their audience, but a group of people working together possibly. In the traditional depictions of this card, we see a family unit. But it's a lot of work was put into something, and there's a triumphant sense of having accomplished this. This is reaching some sort of milestone, like the final performance of the night. It was and you're so the run of the play was so exciting and amazing, and you got to know all these people and make all these friends, and now here is the triumphant final night. We're taking our bow, we're gonna strike the set and go out for drinks later, and there's just this exuberant, we accomplished this, and there's an exuberance around that accomplishment, emotional fulfillment, satisfaction. Something was achieved, something was completed. It's a card of completion. The 10s always are. So something has been achieved and acquired and accomplished. Much like that, wow, a lot of musical and theater metaphor coming in here, but much like, Into the Woods, we don't stay here at the sense of accomplishment, but we do, which you well know at this point, but it is a moment to be celebrated and enjoyed, and it's treasure. It's a treasured moment of accomplishment and satisfaction and that exuberance of having had something happen, made something happen. Could have been a relationship. I mean, there's a strong relationship vibe here with all of these emotion cards. So cup cards, right? So could have been a relationship or something like that that was at some point very satisfying and exciting. And then we have your current situation, the wheel. So the wheel is about, we would normally call it the Wheel of Fortune, but the wheel is about luck, good luck, bad luck, all of that stuff that's outside of our control, or we don't quite see how it all fits together. Sometimes I think there's like a Rube Goldberg machine going on where I do this action over here, and then behind this curtain, all of this stuff happens. And so I just pull a lever here, and then suddenly there's a ball rolling across the floor, and I don't understand where it came from or what happened. So that's how sometimes I view luck can be a little bit like that. Like you may have done something and accomplished something, and a bunch of stuff totally unknown to you goes on, and then there's some sort of result. We call it luck, but it maybe did relate to something you did. But you're waiting for all of the machinery in life to do its thing. It could also just be, who knows, sometimes this is just really random stuff, or just like part of the path that part of your path is running into this thing. So there's a sense of patience with the wheel, allowing something to change. Your luck is changing, something's shifting and something's changing. It could be behind the scenes where you're not aware of it, but you're waiting for something to happen. Or it could be more just sort of some sort of, it's that time. It's that time in your life where you win the car, or it's that time in your life. So because it's good luck or bad luck, because it's always changing, right? As we rotate around the sun, we're like the ponies on the merry-go-round, and our ponies go up and our ponies go down. We have some good luck and we have some bad luck. So there's some sort of shift in the energy. The wheels never, well, in the upright here, it's just not clear. There's just a shift in the energy here. If I took more reversals, we'd be able to be more specific about it, but there's a shift in sort of some luck. It might feel completely out of your control, and in a way it is, because you don't know what it is you do that causes you don't know what causes the ball rolling across the floor. Feels very random, and it would be really difficult from our perspective to guess at what lever exactly made that ball roll across the floor. So that lucky ball that rolled across the floor. But there's just some random luck thing. Your luck is changing, it's shifting. There's shifts that are feel outside of your control, feel maybe random things happening. And then in your hopes, your fears, your inner landscape, you have the Muse of emotions. This is our King of Cups. This is emotional maturity. You could be thinking about someone who seems to be very emotionally mature, able to handle a wide variety of emotions and integrate them into their decision-making process as the information that they truly are from our bodies. And just like all the other senses, I wish emotions were considered part of we have the 5 senses, and then we have the 6th sense, which has some sort of other connotation to it. But I wish emotions were just a standard part of the 5 senses, that there were 6 and emotions were standard, because they are giving us crucial information that we need for our survival. It's not a frill. It's crucial. So you might be thinking about a person. It's a court card, so you could be thinking about a person who has a lot of emotional maturity, has a pretty good handle on their emotions, or you could be longing to, that's something you're aspiring to, greater emotional maturity, greater understanding of your emotions and working with them, and maybe even working with this fear here, and understanding it. There's either someone that you're thinking about, or even thinking about your own personal growth and emotional growth and health and well-being. So that's something on your mind, hoping for some emotional health, some steady emotions, an ability to be zen within the storm, within whatever this wheel brings you, whatever shifts the universe brings, whatever season of your life you end up with. A hardship or a blessing, being able to handle all of those shifts and all of those changes and all of the moving parts here, being able to handle those and handle them maturely. So there's a hope here for mature emotional maturity, psychological maturity, and being able to be balanced within all of the roiling emotions and random stuff of life. What's at issue here is this reverse 5 of emotions. This would be you coming out of, this is stuck in a grief process. It's reverse. Upright would be coming out of that grief process, melting, having something starting to flow, but we're still in a grief process. Now, that grief process, are you clinging to the grief process? Do you get a sense of identity from your sorrows and your grief? Does it benefit you somehow, right? Because sometimes we can cling to that, and it can give us a sense of identity, and then we get stuck in it. But sorrows are really meant to flow. So it could be that you're blocking some sort of emotion that you don't want. Oh my gosh, it could be being afraid to fully feel. Being afraid to fully feel your sorrows and blocking them so that they're not flowing through you but are getting stuck, right? They could be, you're longing for some flow. You're longing for this emotional maturity here, to be able to handle all the things that come towards you. But we have an emotional blockage, right? The Muse of emotions, it's cups, it's water. It's always depicted as water and cups, right? Because this is meant to flow. Water is meant to flow. Our emotions are meant to flow. We don't want blocking them. We don't want to stop them. It is, you stop one, you stop them all, right? So if you're not allowing yourself to experience the deep grief that life is going to bring you and these random circumstances bring you, you're also not going to be able to experience the fullness of that joy when that happens. I mean, this is partly, I think, relates to depression and that kind of thing, is that it's stopped. You're stopping some sort of emotion. You might be afraid of feeling fear. You might be afraid of feeling some sort of grief, because 5 of emotion talks about losses and really feeling those losses. But we're getting it in reverse, where maybe we're not feeling those losses. We're not allowing ourselves to feel those losses, and therefore there's a blockage within us, and it's going to be harder for us to move on and move forward. So and to experience the great joys of life. So there's a sense where a grief process, and it's your own process, right? And it takes the time it takes. But if you're not allowing that flow of emotions, it's not a completed process, and it's going to have very difficult time completing, because it's like trying to flush a toilet that has a clog in it. It's not going to work if you're blocking it. You got to let the shit flow out. Let it go, and in order to have the flow through your whole emotional plumbing system, right? So we want to keep the plumbing system moving. We want to keep the plumbing through our emotions moving, right? We're talking about water. We're talking about flow, and we want to keep it, don't dam it up. So there might be some damming of emotions, some damming of feelings you might be afraid to feel. But we really want to let that flow. But I don't also, like, your grief process is your grief process. If you are letting it flow, then you're still in a grief process. You're still grieving something. You went from this highest highs, and now we've got this lowest lows, and life is really putting you through the ringer here. And we've got these more difficult emotions that we maybe aren't, you're either blocking it, or you're still processing it, and it's moving, but it might be moving slowly, or it's still moving. And that's okay. Your grief process takes as long as it takes, as long as you're within it and you're allowing those feelings to flow, and you're crying when you need to cry. Again, with the metaphors, you know when you need to take a poo, but you don't do it right wherever you're standing, right? So crying can be the same. Like, maybe this meeting isn't the best place to start crying, but you can find a place, the appropriate place to cry, and you want to do it that day and as soon as possible. So we're letting those emotions flow. In your environment, we have the 2 of emotions. So there is a deep connection here between 2 entities. It's very specific in this one. I feel it's 2 people, 2 entities. There's just a lot about relationship here too, which is interesting, because some cards I feel that, and some cards I don't feel that very much. But we have this 2 of emotions reverse. Oh no, it's not reverse. Someone here it's this deep connection, and it's maybe someone is having a deep connection, and that's causing you some kind of grief to see that deep connection that they're having, but you're still mourning the fact that you don't have that. Or it could be that you are having the very deep connection with someone in your environment, someone that you know. But there's some sort of very deep emotional sharing. I love this because, again, we have this reversal. We have this upside down. We have this, right? They're looking at the world through different perspectives, and yet they're seeing eye to eye. So they're coming from different places, right? One's coming from above, one's coming from below. They're very differently situated. They're very different beings. They're moving through the water very differently. They move very differently emotionally. They have different perspectives on the whole emotional situation. And yet here they are, eye to eye. And I see that we have this reverse here, and we have this reverse here, right? So there's a different perspective here. And yet there's this moment of being able to see the same thing, or being able to see each other even through that, different perspectives and different backgrounds. And then we have your to-do list, your area of greatest growth, your opportunity for greatest growth, the thing you're looking to engage with. whenever the opportunity arises. There'll be a moment probably when you're like, yes, this might be it. I think this is it. It's this Seven of Inspiration or Seven of Wands. Fighting for what you believe in, making space in your life for a light, for something that brings you alive, that brings you to life, making space. And it might be quite a struggle. It might be quite a fight to push away the darkness, to push away naysayers, to push away all of the obligations that crowd you out and threaten to overwhelm you and overwhelm your passion. So you have a passion here and you have to make space for it. And it could take a lot of strength, a lot of power. It could be a very draining activity, right? We're headed Seven of Inspiration and we're starting to head towards Nine of Inspiration where we're very drained. But it could be taking a lot of strength from you. So you're looking to be strong and to hold on to your passion and to make space for your passion to thrive and shine, for something within you to shine, you're standing your ground and you're pushing back against forces that threaten to overwhelm you. There's a lot of night out here that you're pushing back against. And then where your possible outcome here is the world cosmos, the world card, a full completion of a large cycle in your life. But it can also be like ending up right back at the beginning, you know, but a year wiser, a year's gone by, but you ended up right where you started. This can also be those larger, just having to deal with the larger forces of life. Like there's a lot of orbiting here, a lot of like cosmic movement present in this. We have night, right? And we have night represented like the moon cycling through our nights here. We have the moon is full here, but it also has these stages that we don't control, and nothing in our behavior will ever control because we are so tiny compared to these larger cosmic movements. So the world also talks about that orbit around the sun, the completion of starting right back at the beginning, a completion of a cycle where we're, oh look, I'm orbiting the moon around the earth here. This is really cute, quite accidentally. So these larger orbits, these things that are so much out of our control, the larger movements of the cosmos, of history, of weather, of economics, of political situations, you know, something in this is going to have an effect on you. These changes, these huge, big changes. So you have the wheel and the world cosmos, both of these talking about cycles, so that out of your control, just the cycles of life, and they resume here, or they continue on. Life continues on. It's cycles of dark and light, full moon, new moon. These are these big, larger moments. So that affect you, but you don't really, your only choices are what you do with that. So larger movements, completions of things, you know, completing a whole cycle, ending back at where you began again, which where you began was pretty awesome, right? This was pretty cool. So possibility of ending up right back at that 10 of emotions, starting a whole new cycle or completing one. But I see you as starting one, making room in space for a whole new thing, a whole new journey. All right, Pisces, I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you so much for likes, subscribes, and comments, and I will see you guys in a fortnight.